What's up guys, it's Marcus from Totally Silenced Tech and I'm pleased to bring you my review of the Logitech G900 wireless gaming mouse. Now wired mice have always been my own personal choice of preference, especially when it comes to gaming, but after having some pretty bad experiences with wireless mice in the past, never did I believe that one day we'd see a product like the Logitech G900 come out. The G900's key features are a 1 millisecond report rate, using a highly optimized 2.4 GHz wireless connection and the infamous PMW3366 sensor. But after Logitech's great success with the PMW3366 optical sensor found in the Logitech G502, it seems they may have done it again. Now originally the PMW3366 sensor was designed with Pixar with a wireless mouse in mind. The G900 is the final result. But there's a lot more to making a wireless mouse than just having a great sensor, and Logitech went all out. They used state-of-the-art facilities in an attempt to get the G900 wireless capabilities better than the competition. Interference can be a big issue, which is a massive problem with wireless mice until now. Not only does the G900 have a much higher signal strength than the leading competition, but the G900 doesn't demand that you place the receiver directly in front of the mouse's body. In fact, it makes no difference at all, which is a massive leap forward. For me, having the receiver tucked neatly under my keyboard with zero compromises is a godsend. As you may or may not know, I have reviewed a lot of wired mice on the channel, but I honestly could not tell the difference comparing the G900 to any of the wired mice that I currently own. Even when I switched from wired mode to wireless mode on the G900, it performed exactly the same, which was honestly unbelievable, and I personally never thought this would be possible. Looking over the mouse, you'll see that it supports an ambidextrous design, allowing for both left and right hand users. But one thing I always hated about ambidextrous mice was having the buttons on both sides, as it always rendered the buttons useless, as hitting the buttons on the opposite side was unavoidable. Thankfully, this is not a problem plagued with the G900, as you can swap the side buttons out on either side or remove them altogether. What's also nice to see is that even though the side buttons are removable, there seems to be no compromises. They deliver a perfect travel distance and they give off a quite nice, quiet, tactile click. Further up the mouse we find a very familiar but also very different scroll wheel compared to the G502. I wasn't a massive fan of the G502 scroll wheel because I found it was just a bit too heavy, but on the G900 it has been massively improved. Not only is it lighter, but it feels sturdier as well, with greater defined scroll steps. The DPI adjustment buttons found below the scroll wheel are a bit of a stretch from the left and right clicks, but again they feel excellent, and the DPI indication light placed right below them provides some great visual feedback. The left and right clicks use a mechanical pivot design. Yes, we can now get hold of mechanical switches in our mice as well. But the G900 has a metal pivot bar which is inbuilt into the main left and right buttons. This system reduces pre-travel distance from the clicks while also reducing force required to actuate them. If we take a look underneath the mouse, we find some super glidey rubber feet. We also get an on-off switch, but the mouse I do believe switches off over a period of time if it's not touched. And lastly, we get a profile switch button, which allows you to switch to all of your custom-made profiles from the Logitech gaming software. Next, I want to talk about the G900's ability to not only blow past all of the wireless mice ever released, but its ability to keep up with the wired competition as well. Logitech tested the G900 against the Razer Death Adder, one of the most popular mice on the market. One of the tests they did was comparing click latency, which is from the moment you press the click to when it reaches the PC. The Logitech G900 came up with an average click latency of 4.36 milliseconds. Comparing that to the average 9.93 milliseconds of the Razer DeathAdder, we are nearly talking a whole frame ahead in a competitive shooter like CSGO from a wireless mouse. This is an amazing achievement from Logitech. They have seriously outdone themselves with the G900. But what is probably even more important with a wireless mouse is latency regarding the actual sensor itself. Again, more testing was done and Logitech reports an average latency of 4.4 milliseconds, again beating out the Razer DeathAdder at 6.6 milliseconds regarding the actual sensor. But overall, that's a fantastic achievement for a wireless mouse. Regarding size, the G900, it would have to be considered a medium to small sized mouse. I have medium to small hands and I certainly wouldn't want it to be any bigger. It's just about right, although personally I would have preferred it to be a little bit smaller. One issue that I found with the G900 was lifting it up off the mouse pad. I found it a little difficult compared to other mice when my hand was cold, but once my hand was warmed up after about 10 minutes of gaming, it was perfect. But the back of the mouse is so smooth, it kept slipping right out of my hand. Regarding the G900's lift-off distance, I prefer personally my lift-off distance to be as low as possible, and the G900 has seriously impressed me. It is extremely low. It sits at around 1mm, if not slightly lower, a lot lower than I can ever remember the G502s being. Unfortunately, if you prefer a higher lift-off distance, then the G900 won't be for you, as there isn't any option in the gaming software to change it. Speaking of the Logitech gaming software, we find much of the same functions as we did before. A very well thought out and simple to use program. The first page, we get the option to save profiles to the G900's onboard memory, meaning all your settings will be saved, allowing you to use it on other computers. Page 2 allows you to remap all the buttons, and we even get the option of dialing in the button layout we are currently using on the mouse itself. But further across, we can switch between the 5 profiles, and further down we get all the DPI adjustments and polling rate options. Page 3 is all about lighting customization. Now this is something Logitech has greatly improved upon compared to its previous mice. The G logo lights up very cleanly and all of the colours look extremely accurate, but white does seem to have an ever so slight yellow tint to it, but that's a common issue on all mice. Page 4 provides some great battery information. Charge times of the G900 are very quick, and from a full charge with a single colour on the G logo, the Logitech software calculated 26 hours of usage, 36 hours with the lights off completely. Quickly looking at page 5 and 6, page 5 we get to use the tuning software to calibrate our mouse to the surface we're currently using, and lastly page 6 allows you to customize your buttons on your mouse to use for macros. So that about wraps it up guys. As a summary, I have to say that Logitech have outdone themselves with the G900. This is now my go-to mouse. I feel totally confident when gaming and overall it feels superb. Personally, I rate this much higher than the G502, as I always found it a little too heavy. Think of the G900 not as a wireless G502, but as its worthy successor. The G900's design is stunning and it feels like a mouse from the future. Other companies are going to have to seriously step up their game, as Logitech has definitely set the mark. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've made it this far, then no doubt you're very interested in the G900, but I can't highly recommend enough. If you go and pick one up, you will not regret it. But anyway, see you guys. Remember to like this video if you haven't already, and if you aren't subscribed, shame on you. But I've been Marcus from Totally Silence Tech. Goodbye.